CQ. This is Kilo 5 Papa Oscar. Kilo 5 Papa Oscar calling CQ. CQ. This is Kilo 5 Papa Oscar. Kilo 5 Pacific Ocean calling CQ. CQ. This is Kilo 5 Papa Oscar. Kilo 5 Pacific Ocean calling CQ. This is Kilo 5 Papa Oscar. Kilo 5 Pacific Ocean. CQ. This is Kilo 5 Papa Oscar. Kilo 5 Pacific Ocean calling CQ. This is Kilo 5 Papa Oscar. Kilo 5 Pacific Ocean. CQ. This is Kilo 5 Papa Oscar. Kilo 5 Pacific Ocean calling CQ. This is Kilo 5 Papa Oscar. Kilo 5 Pacific Ocean. CQ. This is Kilo 5 Papa Oscar. Kilo 5 Pacific Ocean calling CQ. This is Kilo 5 Papa Oscar. Kilo 5 Pacific Ocean calling CQ. CQ80 meters. This is Kilo 5 Papa Oscar. Kilo 5 Pacific Ocean. CQ. This is Kilo 5 Pacific Ocean. Kilo 5 Papa Oscar. Kilo 5 Pacific Ocean calling CQ. This is Kilo 5 Pacific Ocean. Kilo 5 Papa Oscar monitoring. CQ80 phone. This is Kilo 5 Papa Oscar. Kilowatt 5 Papa Oscar calling CQ. This is Kilo 5 Papa Oscar. Kilo 5 Pacific Ocean calling CQ.
Kilo Foxtrot 5, Whiskey Juliet Bravo.
Kilo Foxtrot 5 Whiskey Juliet Bravo, is that right?
That's correct.
Kilo Foxtrot 5 Whiskey Juliet Bravo, thanks for the call. Kilo 5 Papa Oscar. Name is Andy here. Alpha November Delta Yankee in Bella Vista, Arkansas.
Good evening, Andy. My name is Jack. I'm located in Mansfield, Texas, right between Dallas and Fort Worth, a little bit south, and got a good copy on you tonight. Got you about 5 over. Didn't clear coming out of, did you say Arkansas?
Yeah, Jack, that's Roger. Northwest corner of Arkansas, Bella Vista, Arkansas. Just right south of the Missouri border, and not too far from Oklahoma as well. Have you nice here as well. 5 to 10 over, about 10 over on peaks here on coming this way.
Well, I'm not running anything special down here, Andy. I've got a Yaesu FT2K and a couple of homebrew dipoles up in some oak trees, and I'm running barefoot, just 100 watts. And I've only been in this hobby about a year, a little over, and still enjoying it. But even though my equipment's pretty simple, I get a lot of enjoyment out of it. How about you? How long have you been in the hobby up there? Over.
Yeah, I've been, I guess, a couple more years, but not long in terms of lots of folks that I'll often meet on the air. I was their first licensed. I sat down and got my tech and my general in a single sitting, actually. In 2008, I believe it was January 2008. Went back the following year and got my extra as well, and have had a lot of fun with it ever since. Really, I was only really ever interested in HF initially, at least. So that's why I wanted to get my general as soon as I could, because I really wanted to get to the HF bands and get the most of the HF bands. So I've had a lot of fun with it, and yeah, I've been licensed, I guess, since 2008 initially. I'm running about a kilowatt on this side, actually, coming your way. So a little more power, but that doesn't necessarily make me work any better. So we're getting about the same signal both ways.
Well, it's working well for you. It's working well for you. I'm kind of like you. I haven't got my extra yet, but I got my general about a month after my technician because I just couldn't wait to get on HF, and that's where I like to spend a lot of my time. Although our club is real active on 2 meters, so I spend a fair amount of time on 2 meters and 440 as well. I'm looking at your QRZ page, Andy, and I love that tower you've got there. Looks like a tower that will crank up and down. Is that correct?
Oh yeah, that's right. Let's see here. I'm trying to remember the brand. I believe it's now the brand has escaped me at this particular point, but yeah, it's about a 50-foot tower. It cranks up and down. Freestanding tower, so it's supported purely by the heft of the base. I apologize, my dog's barking here. Stand by for just a second. Sorry about that, Jack. But yeah, supported purely by the base. So it has a heck of a lot of concrete down there underneath it, and it works quite well. Got a little motorized brake winch. Well, a brake winch and then a separate motor that makes it easy to go up and down with the tower. So that's pretty easy to put it up or take it back down in about 30 seconds or so. So no big deal there. Storm's coming, or I'm going to be away from the house for a while. I lower it back down. If I want to operate, I'll put it up. So it makes it pretty easy. I don't have to worry about it too much, because when it's down, it's only about 22 feet or so. So not much wind resistance at that point. It works quite well.
That's an absolutely awesome tower, and those beams up there are huge. Is that something that you made, or did you purchase those?
No, actually, I bought all of those. That is a Adventurous Skyhawk is the HF tri-bander for 10, 15, and 20. I have M2 brand antennas. So I think it's 3 elements, 6 meters, and 10 or 11 elements for 2 meters, 2 meter sideband work up at the very, very tip top. But it supports it quite well. All the load is really the Adventurous Skyhawk, which is a pretty sizable beam for HF there. But that's what stays up there. It's turned by a high gain T2X rotor. Again, all of it is pretty. The tower supports it pretty handedly. Also, right now I'm talking on an off-center fed dipole. Usually use it primarily for 40 and 80 meters. I also have an inverted L for 160 meters, but I was actually just out in the yard earlier working on that because the horizontal element of the L has succumbed to a tree branch that fell and took that part of it down. So it's presently non-operational. So hopefully I'll get back out there tomorrow morning and fix that. Kilo Foxtrot 5, Whiskey Juliet Bravo, Kilo 5 Papa Oscar.
Kilo 5 Papa Oscar, KF5WJB. Yeah, I can relate to that tree branch falling on your antennas. Even though I just got dipoles, I lost my 40-meter dipole to a tree branch a couple of months ago, and just hadn't got back up in the trees to get that back on the air. I don't have a whole lot of open area where I'm at here in Mansfield. My place is covered up with oak trees, but I do have a spot picked out for a tower. Someday I would love to have one, and I'm really inclined to want to have one that will transition up and down for maintenance. But I suspect that's a huge amount of concrete that's that's in the ground there to make that stable without any guy wires. I don't know that. Don't know if I could even dig a hole that big.
Yeah, Jack, it's a tremendous amount of concrete. I put, frankly, a lot more than I even needed. The tower has a base substructure that you sink in the concrete, and basically you have to dig at least enough earth out to sink that substructure entirely, and then a little bit beneath that for some gravel for drainage. But I think I think it's like a 5 foot wide by 5 foot wide, and about 6 feet deep. So it has a ton of concrete in there. I had a backhoe dig it. I didn't dig it myself, but that would have been a tremendous amount of concrete to do that. Yeah, it works out quite well. You know, I guess realistically, if you have space for some guy wires, it's probably a lot cheaper and easier to just get a guide tower. You know, it's consistent. There's no moving parts. You're not going to get your coax, you know, caught in the up and down process, snag your coax, that sort of thing. So, you know, if you have the space for guy wires, it's really probably the easier, more consistent way to put up a tower. But if you don't have the space for guy wires, you just don't want guy wires in the yard. I had the space for it, but frankly, I didn't want to cut down a bunch of trees to give space for the guy wires. And if you don't cut the trees down, give space for the guy wires, a tree falls over, takes the guy wire out, and takes your old tower. So this ended up working pretty well. I found actually this tower and the winch mechanism, as well as the beam and the mast and stuff, from a silent key that lived near Tulsa, Oklahoma. I didn't use any of the antennas on it, and I rebuilt the winch. I restrung the entire tower with new stainless steel cabling, put a new motor on it, new bushings in the tower, repainted the tower, and then put all new antennas on it. So I mostly rebuilt it, but I ended up getting the basic tower and stuff for a pretty good deal there. Kilo Foxtrot 5, Whiskey Juliet Bravo, Kilo 5, Papa Oscar.
Well, it looks like you have done a tremendous job. That was a huge undertaking, and it says quite a bit about your devotion to your hobby there. I'm very impressed with that. It looks like a very sturdy structure and a very impressive antenna array up there. So looks like you take your hobby very seriously. I appreciate that. I'm gonna try to get into that level one day. I just hadn't got there yet. I don't really have an excuse. I've been retired a couple of years. I stay really busy with some volunteer work I do with the community police department, fire department, but I can't really say that's my excuse. I just haven't really, I guess, made that kind of commitment. I'm looking for a tower. I'm thinking guide tower though. I'm only thinking about 50 feet as well. I don't feel like climbing anything more than that, but at least you can climb. I'm thinking maybe even a roan would be an option, but one of those crank up and downs would be my dream to have that. I would really like the idea of being able to work on something without going that high up on the tower. Over.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I think just a guide, a Roan 25G or something, 50 feet. That's a great tower with guys. It could support pretty much any antenna array you want up there. You know, maybe short of a massive 40 meter beam or something like that. One of the friends in my ham club, he has 70 feet of Roan 25G. Works great. He has a big high gain TH9 or something like that up there. Not high gain. Cushcraft X9, I believe it is. Massive tri-bander up there. It works great for it. No problems at all with that. So that's definitely a good option. And frankly, it's a heck of a lot more affordable than what I have. I only went this route, and it frankly only worked out for me because I got the tower used from the silent key. Otherwise, it would have cost a fortune. These crank ups cost a lot of money. So if I could have went for a guide tower, I frankly would have.
Well, I'm kind of like you in regards to the trees. One of the reasons we chose this piece of property was because of the number of trees. We're real partial to them, so I wouldn't be interested in trying to cut anything down to make way for guy wire. So it's got to work out to where I can string it up and support it without really altering the vegetation on the property. So I don't know. That's another consideration for me. If I didn't have the ability to reach out and talk to people like you right now, I would be probably scrambling to do something different. But I've become complacent because I have a relatively good setup here. I get to work a lot of contacts, domestic and international. So right now I'm just happy with what I'm doing, I guess, and that's happy leads to complacency, and I'm kind of, I guess, stuck in one spot. Right now I'm contemplating polyphasers as a lightning strike on a new antenna I put up for a 2-meter operation. You ever use any kind of polyphasers or those kind of devices and protection of your antennas, Andy?
Yeah, I got outside of the tower. I have a series of ground rods buried around the tower, and they're connected by the 4-gauge copper ground wire that's buried around the tower, and then that copper ground wire is CAD welded to exothermically welded to the ground rods. The coax that comes down from the tower does go through. Actually, it's Alpha Delta brand, I believe, is my coax suppressor. And then once it enters into the shack, I have a feed panel where all the coax that comes into the shack all is grounded at a common point. And that common point is also grounded, feeds down to a ground rod beneath the shack entrance. And that ground rod is also bound by a 4-gauge ground wire to to my electrical mains, as well as to the same grounding system as the tower. So I have a single ground point for all the coax feeds coming into the house, and they're all bound together and to the electrical mains. I never had any electrical concerns here. We don't have a tremendous amount of lightning anyway, but I am kind of on a hilltop, so I have to be careful. But at any rate, it seems thus far the grounding system has worked.
Well, I'm kind of surprised that you aren't in the line of those thunderstorms that roll through here and head to the northeast. But is there any particular reason you were in favor of the Alpha Delta as opposed to polyphasers? I'm just now doing my due diligence on trying to determine, what type and all that, all the technical specifications associated with the brand. I hadn't even stumbled across Alpha Delta. I pulled it up here while we're talking, and it reads like a polyphaser. I've just never heard of it.
Well, I'll grant that polyphaser is probably one of the bigger names in the industry. Definitely, I don't think there's a problem with polyphaser in terms of the quality or functionality. My reasoning for using the Alpha Delta unit was a quite practical one. Up on my tower top, I have a remote antenna switcher that switches between the antenna feeds to the various antennas up there. And the way that antenna switcher works is I have a 12-volt injection into the coax that leads up into the tower. And then I have a control box inside of my shack. It uses that 12-volt injection to send a signal to the remote antenna switcher directly through the coax cable itself. That way I'm not trying to run a separate control cable just to switch between the antennas. And the polyphaser units, if I recall, would not feed a 12-volt signal through them like that. So there would actually be a break in that signal. Whereas the Alpha Delta units, they would transmit that, or they would allow that 12-volt signal to pass through, so I can switch my antenna up top. So that was a kind of a practical reason for why I avoided the polyphasers. No other concerns. I'm sure they're just fine.
Well, that's a very interesting approach. I don't think I've ever heard of being able to feed the power for your antenna switching device through the coax. That's an extremely efficient way to do it. That's awesome. I'm going to have to try to remember that if I ever get to that point. So that makes a heck of a lot of sense. If you could, like I say, I'm still in discovery here. I have so much to learn about this hobby. It's just overwhelming at times, but at the same time, it's almost exhilarating just stumbling across all this stuff that's new and interesting to me. I have an engineering background, but it wasn't in electronics.
Yeah, Jack. I don't know if you can copy me yet, but we've got what seems to be an AM carrier dropping above us. I can notch it out, but I'm not sure what if you can or not on your side. But if you have any questions about my system, you're welcome to shoot me an email. My email is on my QRZ page. Also, if you're into the humor side of things, you should check out the links there. I write for a satirical amateur radio website where we kind of poke fun at the hobby. So we're both serious and like to have fun too. But I'll go ahead and sign. I gotta jump off here anyway, and I think you probably can't hear me with the carrier at any rate. Kilo Foxtrot 5, Whiskey Juliet Bravo, Kilo 5, Pacific Ocean 73, and I'll be clear on your final.
Well, thank you very much for the insight, Andy. Yeah, I started notching, or turning my notch filter up too, and I got just about out. Still got a good copy on you, but very much appreciate the QSO and the information. And I may look you up one of these days if I get further along and want to try to utilize some of these things you have in play. Again, thank you very much. 73 to you, Kilo 5 Papa Oscar. This is Kilo Foxtrot 5, Whiskey Juliet Bravo. 73 my friend, and Happy New Year.
As well. Take care, Jack. Happy New Year. Kilo 5 Papa Oscar. I'll be clear.